Amalgamation Nation, the AM Nation pod, presented to you by the Amalgamation Nation Podcast Network, your source for gaming, sports, anime news, and more. As always, I am the anime watching, Swole Team 6 repping John Cena's bestie, Shaq Daddy himself, Ryan Green Machine Ebner, joining me today from North Carolina, Brendan B.K. Kennerly. BK, how are you? How are you? It's the final weekend before a holiday weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited for, get off next Monday. And I know next Monday will be better than this Monday. Not just because I'm off, but because of the, I don't want to get into it because I don't want to start off this podcast on a bad note talking about the incredibly shitty Orioles City Connect jerseys that ruined my day.
I was gonna literally
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I was literally going to start it and toss that to you instantly and be like, here's your time. Here. But, no, yeah, you're good.
You want me to vent about it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, dude. Yeah, it's fine. And then we'll bring it back in when I talk about my vacation. So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, so, it's Monday, so it's fuck this any day, fucking work week, full work week. Didn't want to do it. Actually got, a lot done this weekend, straightening up the house. Colleen's mom came in town. She was a huge help. And, I was playing a little bit of Horizon over the weekend. I beat the mainline game. It was just, all around, it was a great weekend. And fucking Monday, fucking today, fucking the Orioles announced the City Connect jerseys. And it's exactly what they leaked a few weeks ago. Fucking trash. Just not inspired. They didn't care. A lot of people were comparing it to the Great Britain jerseys from the World Baseball Classic. And guess what? They were not wrong. Just a plain black front with simple white lettering. And then the reason that they did this, folks, at home, if you haven't looked at it, I'll give you a second. Go home. I'll add on your cellular device, whatever, or your computer, laptop, desktop, whatever you're using, just type in Orioles City Connect jerseys. It'll be on one of the top links there. Click on it, and then you'll see it. And you're like, oh, shit, what a fucking lame-ass jersey. Very simple. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, oh, there's, some cool colors and shit.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to roll up the fucking sleeves for that to be displayed. When you have them rolled all the way down, it's just black. You literally have to roll up the sleeves. Now, Ryan, I ask you, as a fellow baseball fan and watcher, how often do Major League Baseball players roll up the sleeves on their jerseys?
I would say very rare.
Very rare. That was also very nice of you to say very rare.
Yeah, I don't think it ever happens.
No, it never happens. Never. But the reason they did this, folks at home, is because they're like, oh, yeah, people just think of Baltimore as just this almost plain black and gray city. But then when you really get to know Baltimore, you get to know the colorful neighborhoods that make up the beautiful city behind the scenes. So these fuckheads over at Nike, instead of saying hey, let's just highlight all the diverse and beautiful neighborhoods, we're not going to put them on the front of the jersey, do something cool. We're just going to make these small accents that you can't even fucking see. So it's just literally just a plain black and white jersey. And it looks worse than the Orioles Friday night jerseys because everyone at home, the Orioles play Friday nights at home, always in all black unis. It's really disappointing. And all the City Connect rankings I've seen so far, they have the Orioles dead last, and they're not wrong. And I appreciate P2 looking on the positive side today, where he's like, hey, those socks look cool. And I was like, you know what? They kind of do. But I was like, the cool part of the socks you can't see because they're in the shoe. They're in the cleat. You're only going to see the BAL when they actually pull them up. It's a half-ass jersey, and it sucks because we're actually good this year. That's the really shitty part. And I was talking to Colleen. I was like, they could have done something with the Maryland flag because – Marylanders, we love our flag. We're super proud of it. It's super cool and unique. They could have done something with that. They could have done the Old Bay can. They literally just could have just made the jerseys an Old Bay can. And people would have loved it, though. They'd be like, Marylanders love Old Bay. They would have loved it. Super recognizable. They would have been all about it. But they kind of did this. I don't know. And it's just like the super colorful part. It's like I think that represents some neighborhoods, not all of them. I don't know. It was a half-ass attempt. And they could have put Charm City on there. That's like a nickname for Baltimore is Charm City. Do something else. And like there's such plain lettering because like the Orioles have like Orioles on their jersey now, and it's like a nice cursive and it's cool and it's kind of slanted and goes up. But this is just sort of just straight across the front. It's oh, I forgot. They have like the part from the poem that a local poet wrote, which is like cool poem, but they have it on like a little jersey tag. Guess what? When the jersey's fucking tucked in, you can't see the fucking jersey tag where it says you can't clip our wings. You can't fucking see it. Everyone at Nike that was like involved in this process should be fired. Should be fired and go get a job at Skechers. That's what they should fucking do.
Ooh, I have Skechers work boots. They're very comfortable. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just Skechers. That was mean. Go get a job. What's a shoe brand we don't like? Is Lug still around?
Yeah, Lugs are like some K-Swiss, maybe.
Yeah, go get fucking jobs at K-Swiss, you fucking frauds.
So I don't know if you also follow Eric Himmelheber. I think that's how I say his name. If I'm wrong, Eric, I apologize.
Sounds
but
good to me.
I tweet back and forth with Eric all the time on anime stuff, but he's from Maryland. So like his picture is like an animated version of him with like the Maryland flag in the background. He loves Maryland very, very much, loves the Ravens, loves the O's, and loves the Denver Nuggets are his basketball team. So like good on him. That's cool, dude. Do your thing. But he writes for the Anime Corner News, and I always love his tweets. So when the Baltimore Orioles tweeted out like this like whole thing where like there's more to the story, blah blah blah, his thing was, if you have to explain a jersey design, then you know that the design isn't good in the first place.
Absolutely. Like you could see them trying to justify this, and like I saw a few people were enjoying the jersey, and so like shout out for them. I'm glad I'm glad there are some people that like it. But I remember like the Orioles were really trying to hype it up today. They're like, oh yeah, like look at this like line of people. But I saw like photos from other people, and it wasn't much of a line. There wasn't a lot of activity in the store to get the jerseys and hats and everything today. It was just
it's hard for me, like, because like I think I mentioned to you, like I don't really like almost very many of them at all, of the City Connect jerseys. Like I just don't like them.
Y'all have tight ones. Y'all got
yeah,
tight
no,
ones.
that's the thing. Like for me, like we might have the best one. Like it might be voted as the best one, the South Side one. It's like it's very cool. The only thing that I think that I don't care about it is the hat, to be honest. Like it says shy and like that. Like, I guess it's cool. I mean, I have the hat and it's fine, but like, yeah, the jersey itself though is sick. I'm not gonna lie. The White Sox have one of the better ones. That one's outstanding. But then like a lot of the rest, dude, I just don't like. So like, I guess that's the thing. I didn't like. I got back from my trip at like 4 a.m. Like slept for a few hours and got ready to go to work. And I woke up and I like see all this text going on. And then like I haven't even read it yet. Didn't even like register any of that yet. I was like doing my morning poop or whatever, right? Getting ready. And I went on TikTok and like the first thing I saw was the Commander's Irwin's speech from Attack on Titan. It's like my favorite thing ever. It gets me like jazzed every time I hear it, right? So I'm like, oh, I sent to BK. And then you're like, thanks for cheering me up. I'm like, what the fuck's he talking about, dude? Why is he sad? And then like you start talking about, I'm like, oh, and I went back and through to read it. I was like, oh yeah, these jerseys are ass. These are really shitty City Connect jerseys. These are not great. These are not good. Uninspired, very much so. Because I knew I didn't know if you would be on the show Wednesday. I was like, I might as well let him just do this now.
I probably can't. I forgot also on Wednesday, like I'm picking up a dresser, so
you're a busy guy.
So I won't be able to get on it all because I got to like move that up there.
Shout out to Pete, who isn't on the show today because he's actually at the White Sox game supporting the White Sox, I'm sure. So like, shout out to you, dude. Way to go. They're playing the Guardians, obviously. So that's cool. And he also just turned 30. So welcome to the club, Pete. Welcome to the 30 club. Very nice. It's all over now.
Dirty 30.
Yeah, dirty 30. Oh, the Sox lost 3-0. Gross. All right. I guess for me, like this weekend, I was gone. I mentioned it last week. I went down to Florida. Went down to Destin, Florida, which is right there on the Gulf. And fun fact, a lot of first for me this weekend. Lot of first. First time I've ever actually stepped foot in the ocean in my life. I've been in the ocean on a boat, but I've never actually stepped foot into the ocean. That was my first time. I guess it's not that crazy. I live in Illinois. You know what I mean?
It's weird for me being like an East Coaster my whole life.
Yeah,
so I'm just
so you're
like,
like,
the water's just right there. What are you doing?
Just go right in there, dude. It was awesome though. It is the clearest water I've ever seen in my life right there in the Gulf. Like it was so crazy. Like me and my sister, my cousins and Caitlin were like in the water and like we're like, it's so weird. We could just see each other's legs. Like it was so crazy. It blew my mind. Saw a lot of different like animals and stuff in the water. That was really cool. I know Caitlin the morning that she didn't wake me up to go down there and see the sunrise, she saw a stingray, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I'm like, it's probably for the best you didn't bring me down there because I would have started swinging at it. You know what I mean? For Steve Irwin, let him know he's still got shooters out here.
Never
forget. That went bah bah bah. I would have like rocked it, dude. Would have rocked the shit out of that stingray. What else? Oh, then the other first besides that, right, is my first vacation with Kaylin, so that was cool. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed that very much. It was my first time at a Buc-ee's, which was just a beautiful gas station that I wish we had one up here. You know what I mean? Wish we had one closer to home. Fantastic experience at Buc-ee's.
How would you rate their bathroom?
10 out of 10, dude. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 bathroom? Wow.
Dude, that bathroom was beautiful.
Awesome.
I think it was the Athens, Alabama one. I think that's the one that we stopped in. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely. Buc-ee's is a treat. If you've never been to a Buc-ee's and you get the opportunity to do so, you should. Like, it was so funny because on the way home then, like we stopped on the way down and we got breakfast in there real quick. Because my dad's like, I could just stop. We could just stop and get breakfast too. And I'm like, nah, let's just do this here. Like we got, it's a long ass drive. We're like halfway. Like, let's just keep, let's stop, do our thing, and then keep going. He's like, okay. And we got like, my dad and I got a brisket breakfast taco. I said, boy, I don't know what my expectations were, but they blew them out of the water. All right. And then like Caitlin got like a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich on a croissant. Delicious. Like, she loved it. So that was cool. Yeah, their bathroom was just awesome. So on the way back, though, we also stopped there again because it said 25 miles away. And I was like, Dad, I'm going to be honest with you. I could probably pee in 25 miles. And he was like, all right. Because my one cousin, he didn't get a chance to stop at the Buc-ee's on the way down when he went down. So I was like, we could stop for him, bro. That's fine. We could do it. And he went in the bathroom and it was just so mind blown. He was like, I got lost at first. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was supposed to go. It's just so crazy. So that was dope. I also had Whataburger for the first time. And I think I texted David. I liked it. Caitlin and I had the same thing. And it was like a bacon, avocado, like chicken or a burger or something like that. And it was actually really good. The fries is all pretty good. I think they have really good spicy ketchup. She had honey mustard. That was pretty good. I think I told Dave it was like 7.5 out of 5, 7.5 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Solid choice there. I mean, like I would be happy with a Whataburger in these parts. I'd be happy with it. And then what else? What was the other first? Oh yeah, the main one, dude. I finally got Bojangles. And like after years of Pete and BK preaching the good word of Bojangles, right? True believers, you could say. All right. So like on the way down, we didn't get a chance because I was like, we were just like after the Buc-ee's stuff, like let's just keep grinding, let's grind it out. But I was telling my dad about it, and he's like, "Damn, really? Like they said it's that good?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, shit, man, we might have to get Bojangles on the way back or something." And I'm like, all right, so unless there's one by the hotel. And I'm like, okay. And there wasn't. So then on the way back, I got to drive through Tuscaloosa. We got to see the University of Alabama football stadium and their campus. It is a beautiful campus, so that's cool. But I did give the salute to the Alabama stadium, just as expected, right? We do not like the SEC around here. We just don't. We don't do it. But I was in SEC territory, I'll tell you what. The whole time I was. But yeah, we got Bojangles. Fantastic, dude. 4-piece combo with a sweet tea. Woo! Some of the best fries I've ever had from a fast food place. Like crazy. I was not prepared for that. The honey mustard was good. The creamy buffalo was good. The biscuit was top tier, dude. The shit all over Popeyes. It absolutely just shit on them in like an impressive fashion. Best sweet tea I've ever had. I don't even like sweet tea. Caitlin loves sweet tea, and she loved it. She was like, that was amazing. That was like legit sweet tea. That was great. But yeah, dude, we became believers in that car. That was delicious. I was so happy to now share that experience with. Now when Pete and BK talk about Bojangles to people, I'd be like, yeah, it's awesome.
You can chime in now. You know about it. Like you've taken in the experience. Well, I am a little jealous of you just because we haven't had it in a bit because they actually closed ours down so they could remodel. Like they tore down the whole building and literally rebuilt it from like the studs up. So it's supposed to open up here soon. Like they're getting done. So we're ready to have a Bojangles back in town. Like I mean, there's still like another like 5 in Greenville just down the road. So I mean, it's Greenville, North Carolina. Like, and 5 is not an exaggeration. There's probably more than 5 in Greenville, like that college town.
Listen,
there's so many, it's insane.
You know, that's my thing. I literally looked at Caitlin. I told her your proposition, dude. We just moved down there, and like I told her, and she was like, "Can we get a cow?" And I'm like, "Well,
yeah,
I guess we could." And she's like, "Well, yeah, if we get a cow, I'm all in." And I was like, "Okay, coffee on the cow."
I forgot about that cow thing.
Dude, she loves cows, bro. And that was the cool part too, right? So obviously driving through the South, the way it kind of worked for us is we basically go all the way through Southern Illinois, a little bit of Kentucky, all the way through Tennessee, and then the longest stretch besides Illinois is all through Alabama. Then you get right into Florida there, and once you get into Florida, it's like bam, like that. But a lot of cows, dude. So many. Like Caitlin, super smart because of like her neck and her back and everything after she had all those surgeries a couple years ago. I was like, hey, like wherever you want to sit in the car, you let me know. I don't care. Like if the front's easier for you and you want to sit with my dad, that's cool. I'll go somewhere else. If you want to sit all the way in the back because that's easier for you, like it's whatever's comfortable for you. And she's like, no, I can lay in the back. I'm like, all right, cool. She's like, I got my muscle relaxer anyway, so it's fine. Well, good on her, dude. Like 10 minutes into the drive, she was out like a light. You know what I mean? I could hear her from the front. And then me, like I just have such a hard time sleeping in cars. Like I don't enjoy it. And now as I'm getting older, like my knees lock up really bad if they're like sitting for too long. Like even at the movie theaters, I noticed this where like if I don't stretch my leg out right, like that's why I get so mad. Like so at the Cinemark in Joliet, we have like seats that recline, so it's perfect for my leg. Like my knees are fine. But then the AMC in Naperville, for whatever reason that we kept going to, like I'd have to sit in like a straight up position, and they're cramped too. So just my right knee is just inflamed all the time, and I hate it. So like in a car, it's kind of similar. I mean, I was able to lean back a little bit and like kind of extend my knee. But I took 2 Benadryl hoping it would knock me out, and like it just didn't. So like I slept like a few hours on the ride down. I think I woke up like right as we got going through Nashville. But like she woke up, fell asleep in Illinois, woke up in Alabama. You know what I mean? Like what a trip that was for her, right? She almost slept like good 8 hours. That was pretty cool. But yeah, dude, all in all, like it was so cool. I told my dad the same thing. Like usually when we go on vacations, our vacations are like boom, boom, boom. We're busy because we're doing things. We're going to look at this. We're going to see this. We're going to see that. There's no like relaxing. We don't do relaxation vacations. We just don't do that. And this was so nice because besides my uncle's wedding on Friday night, I didn't have shit to do. I didn't have shit for plans. Oh, besides Saturday, I knew I was going to see the Blue Wahoos, but like, so like I'd wake up in the morning, like we'd wake up at like 5:30, 5:15, so we can go watch the sunrise on the ocean, which is cool. And then like literally my day just didn't matter. I just go out in the ocean, lay on the beach, go to the tiki bar, go to the pool. Didn't matter, dude. Didn't matter. And that was like the perfect, because I haven't had a vacation in a couple years, so that was the best like reboot, like refresher for me. Where I came back yesterday or this morning and I was like, yes, I am refreshed. That's why I'm doing 2 shows in 1 week. You know what I mean? That's why.
Yeah, you're a busy man. You're busy.
Man.
So there's something you glossed over on your trip.
Mm-hmm.
You came back to the light. You came back to the light. You've joined us again. You're partaking in the consumption of adult beverages.
Oh, dude, yeah. So like, I still like now. To be clear, I do still drink now, like from time to time, but it's very like minimal, right? But dude, yeah,
Sparingly.
yeah, sparingly. However, Vacation Ryan gave no shits. Okay, literally, it was so funny. Caitlin and I, like when we got to Bucky's, I think it was, and like we were talking about it because like my dad's like, oh yeah, you guys have been such a good job, both of you, like eating good and like working out, blah blah blah, and like I guess like my sister had originally told us like, oh, like the place that we're staying at, like the hotel or whatever, the resort has a gym. Well, they went down to and they found out it was kind of ass. Wasn't that great? So like Caitlin and I were like, like that's fine. Like we brought our gym clothes in case we wanted to, but like once they told us what was in the gym, we're like, nah, we're not wasting our time. But like it's so funny. Caitlin looked at me, she goes, it's vacation. Calories don't count. We don't give a shit. We're just gonna enjoy ourselves. And I was like, okay. I actually came back and lost weight somehow. I have no idea how, dude, but I lost weight still. So like that was cool. But yeah, I woke up at 5:30, go out to the beach because we went to the liquor store, the first, like the whole Walmart liquor store when we got there. I got Land Shark in a can. Now, mind you, I don't know if anybody's drinks Land Shark. I am a big fan of Land Shark. It's from Margaritaville. It's like one of my favorite beers. However, up here in the north, you can only get it in bottles. Down in Florida, you get it in cans. And I said, yo, I've never seen Land Shark in cans. And neither had my dad. And he's like, well, dude, if you want a 12 pack, just grab a 12 pack. And I was like, bet. And then like Caitlin got a thing of Terramana tequila, and like, cause she was gonna make tequila and like squirt for the weekend, like every day in her little like cup. She bought a cup. Great. Fantastic. Very heavy pours on the tequila. Good times. It was like 5:30 and I'm cracking open a beer, going out on the balcony, looking at out into the ocean. And then we go down to the beach, into the ocean. And like, yeah, Vacation Ryan was built different again. I was just drinking all day long. Crazy. I thought I'd be in so much pain today, and I'm not. I'm actually just really sore from the 14-hour car ride again. That's it.
Yeah, well, 14 hours is a long car ride. Holy moly.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it. I did very similar with our drive to the New England area. So, it's no. I know what you mean about the knee locking up. Yeah,
dude,
it's terrible.
Yeah. It makes me so upset. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, I literally was laying there in the car ride last night because we had more people because we got our two cousins to come back with us too, right? So, like, where I was, I let my one cousin sit in the front because he's 6'3". So I'm like, you can sit in the front, bro. Like, you're bigger. It's cool. And, like, Caitlin goes all the way in the back again. And then my cousin, she's like 5'9", and then me. So we sat in the middle two seats, right? Like, still each get our own seat. But, like, the way I had just enough room to be able to, like, where the center console was for my dad and my cousin, I could extend my legs out, right? And like kind of like when I needed to like extend them to rest them up a little bit. Like, dude, there was one point in the car ride where I went to like bend my knee and I was like, oh no, like this is bad. I'm like, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to go back to the doctors. I already did that. I don't want to do it now for my knee. Like, I don't even want to know what's wrong with it. I just want to leave it alone. But yeah, that part was tough. And like I said, like just getting back super late. But other than that, dude, it was just a great refreshment. Just being like, whew, I'm good to go.
I love, as I said in one of the group chats, I was like, oh yeah, tan and breezy Ryan. Tan and breezy.
That's right. Don't mind the fact that my scalp is completely burned. That's all right.
You just drink the pain away.
That's what I did. And then like shout out to whoever that bartender was at the tiki bar. She's awesome because she was pouring. She made like they had all sorts of drinks on the was it Saturday morning? Yeah, Saturday morning we decided to go out to the ocean and then go out the ocean for the first part of the morning and then go into the pool. And like everybody else in my family was around the pool. Then like we were gonna go to the we had to leave at like 3:00 ish for the Blue Wahoos game. And we were sitting up there, and I'm like, I don't know. And Caitlin's like, well, let's just see if like maybe they just do like Captain and Coke or something. But then I walked up and I saw they had Palomas, which like Caitlin and I both love Palomas, especially when my stepdad makes them. So I was like, I'll just get 2 Palomos instead. And she's like, okay. Shout out to this bartender, dude. She did 3/4 tequila in each one, dude. And just a splash of squirt, splash of squirt, splash of grapefruit, splash of grapefruit. And that was it, dude. That was like all tequila in that drink. It was great. I was feeling toasty by 11 a.m. That was nice.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Hell yeah.
Oh man.
Now they're probably listening to this show and they're like, this is like not what the title of this episode is. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. BK and I saw it, so we'll talk about our thoughts on the movie, where it ranks for us, all that good stuff. Like, you know, as the trilogy now has come to a close from James Gunn. But before we do that, you can support the show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at AmNationPod. Hit the follow button on all of those. Check out the podcast on podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. Just search Amalgamation Nation, and as well as Big J and BB Show. Follow both those shows, like both those shows, share both those shows, all that good stuff. Twitch.tv/Undead Black Bull is where you find David on Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free Twitch Gaming sub a month, so give it to Undead Black Bull. The Epic Games Creator Code is another great way to help support the show at no extra cost to you. So whether you're playing Fortnite, Rocket League, Epic Games Store on your PC, use that code AMNationPod, and it helps support the show. Especially with the new Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Spider-Man 2099 skins coming to Fortnite this week. You might want to, if you're going to purchase them, use that code. All right, BK, let's start it off. We'll go over some of the numbers here that you got down. So let's talk about the Rotten Tomato scores for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It got an 82% from critics, a 94% from the audience. To kind of compare from the other two movies, Guardians 1 got a 92% from critics and a 92% from the audience. Guardians 2 got an 85% from the critics and 87% from the audience. When you kind of look at these, BK, why do you think the critic score was so much lower?
I don't know. There is a lot going on in this movie, and there are a lot of main characters. Like, I would actually compare this movie almost to like an ensemble, like comedy, like TV show, like a la like The Office, like in Parks and Rec, where you have just a lot of main characters playing off of each other and seeing where the adventure takes you. Now, this one, I guess, there's a lot of like tear jerky parts, you know, with the animals and kind of like the testing and all that stuff. So like maybe they're really they leaned into that a little hard at times, but it is kind of comic accurate though. So I guess that's why I didn't feel like it was like, oh, hey, feel bad here. I thought it felt natural, but I could maybe understand from some other people where it's like, all right, like we're getting enough of it. It's a little much.
Yeah, I mean, I went with Nick and Tito to see this opening weekend, and like, I left that movie. I knew in the moment, I felt like it was my favorite Guardians movie. In the moment, I knew that like once I like let it kind of subside a little bit and like get all emotions out and all that good stuff, I would probably reconsider that a little bit. I mean, I still think the first Guardians movie, there's just something special about it. That's probably why it's still my favorite one in the trilogy. But like this one's really good. I saw the critic score, and again, like, I don't want to come off as like a, how do you say, like an MCU like fanboy. So I'm like, well, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I mean, like, there has been some misses lately, and Guardians 3 was like the perfect shit. That's what we needed. I don't think there's any like MCU fatigue as much as it's just like, no, it's not necessarily a fatigue. It's just these movies aren't that good, right? Like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, when you go back and look at it, like it was just an okay movie. It wasn't great. Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. It was okay movie. Maybe a B. Maybe I'd probably give it a B. You know, like it was okay. It was good. You know, you had Spider-Man No Way Home, where that movie was awesome. That movie was great, especially because it tugged on all the nostalgia strings in the right way. So you were like, it gave you more feelings. Wakanda Forever, I really liked. I enjoyed that movie. Shang-Chi, a good movie, really good movie. I just think that it's not necessarily that people are fatigued. It's more like they just haven't been good. There's not as many good products from them. And this was just like, oh, yes. Like, yes, this is so perfect. And it's also interesting in the sense of like, it gave me this weird hope for the DCU and with James Gunn at the helm. And it made me feel like, okay, we can do this. Like, they have never had somebody there orchestra. Like, for people that love Zack Snyder, that's awesome. And I enjoy some of Zack Snyder's movies too. But like, James Gunn, when you look at his comic book movie like repertoire, his portfolio, it's fantastic. 3 Guardian movies. He made me give a shit and like the Suicide Squad. He made a character like Peacemaker like super entertaining and one of the best superheroes TV shows we've had. Like, so it's interesting. And so it just made me have all these feels. I was like, yes. And it's sad at the same time, but the critic score thing was so weird to me because I was like, 82? 82 feels kind of low. Like, that just felt too low.
No, I think it is a little low as well. But I also don't think there's superhero fatigue either. I think it's just that the Marvel and the MCU, they went on like a ridiculous run where it just seemed like they were just putting out just hit after hit after hit, which like you are gonna do. Like, you get hot, but then now and like we've talked about this before on previous pods where it's like, okay, now they're still kind of back into a good swing of things where it's like, hey, they're gonna have good ones and then not so good ones. It's just like we're kind of in that mode now. And then like, we'll get something big again soon. I'm sure of it. And I guess like to play devil's advocate a little bit to your James Gunn point, because he's a fantastic director. The only thing that like has me slightly worried, if we're gonna kind of compare and contrast James Gunn to Kevin Feige, is Kevin Feige was actually never a director, but he was always kind of behind the camera, behind the scenes. Like, he was there when Sony was getting Spider-Man off the ground, like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Like, he was there with Amy Pascal, like, and Sam Raimi, all of them, like, behind the scenes, seeing how things were done and really getting that baseline feel. Not saying that James Gunn isn't talented, but it's different from being a director to being like kind of the, because I forget his counterpart over there, but going from like director to like GM, like going from like head coach to general manager,
right?
It's different. You have to oversee a lot of these pieces, and you yourself can be talented, but you have to teach other people and bring the talent out of them, find out what they're good at, and so forth. And then I think what he's going to be really, really good at, and what we'll see is like, because Guardians was C-tier heroes, honestly. Let's be like in the comics world, they really were. But after Guardians 1, they were A-tier. They were A-tier. They were all getting their own spin-offs. So I think that's what he's going to be really good at, especially in the DCEU, is really taking these C-tier characters and then just bringing them up. Just like
you saw it with Suicide Squad. Yeah,
absolutely. Like you said with Peacemaker, and then Polka Dot Man. That was so funny, and that was so well done. Like so that's the only small thing I'm worried about. Sam was like, okay, like, can he delegate enough? Can he pick the right people? Because that's the hard part now when you're in charge, because he can't direct everything. That's impossible. And honestly, that's what the DCEU got wrong the first time around with Zack Snyder. And I like Zack Snyder. I actually, for the most part, enjoy his movies. I have fun for the most part. But having him in charge of everything, it's too much on one person's plate, honestly. Like, it's just way too much, because there's too many properties in these comic book movies and universes. Like, the bench is too deep.
Yeah, and it's also like what the MCU does so well is that, like, when you got these different heroes introduced, right? They each had their own director, but they all had their own different tone. And like, you just had one person, which was obviously Kevin Feige, behind making sure it all connected somehow. But like, he did such a good job. So that's gonna be interesting if James Gunn can do that. Now, something that like I got on a big kick after I watched this movie, so I went through and like I was watching James Gunn's a bunch of his different press tour videos that he did for this movie. On one of them, he discussed like certain conversations he had with Kevin Feige, and I did not know that when Feige and them when they would like before like some of the Avenger movies released and like the Spider-Man movies and stuff, that he would send the final script to James Gunn to like go over it and like get James's opinion on things. I did not know that. And I was like, huh. So like all the people that like got like there was all this drama supposedly about how like because the Russo brothers killed off Gamora and that James Gunn was pissed about it. And that was further from the truth because James Gunn originally wanted to kill her off in the second Guardians movie. It just didn't go out that way, he said. Like, it just didn't work that way. He wanted to. He's like, I had a whole story about how I wanted to do it. He's like, mostly because Zoe had already kind of said, like, she didn't want to be committed to a character for a super long time. And he was like, okay. He's like, okay, maybe we can do it in the second movie. And it just didn't work out. So he's like, it's fine. He's like, so then when the Russo brothers came to me and said, hey, this is what we want to do. Like, what do you think? He's like, okay. So, like, I loved that. Like, I just like, and I do agree with what you said, right? He takes these C characters and he like tries to make them feel like A characters. And like, I think you saw that with some of the stuff they announced already for the DCU for like this first slate. You know, yeah, you got a Superman movie and yeah, you have a Batman movie, but then all that other stuff in between was like just a bunch of like different heroes that you're like, I don't know who that is. But, like, I don't feel as nervous, I guess, just because James Gunn has the track record to do that. But you're right. Like, what's it going to be when he's, like, behind the scenes and has to, like, be the one to weave the thread instead of being the one just, like, doing this movie?
Yeah, it's a different skill set. And I hope it doesn't come across like I'm hating on him or I don't think he can do it. It's just pure speculation on my part because I would like to see him do well. I'd like to see the DCEU really kind of get back up on its feet here. Certainly cheering for him, and he certainly has a very, very good track record so far. I mean, good. How many episodes of Peacemaker did he direct, or was it just like the pilot?
I don't remember how many he directed. Let's see. Now I'm curious. I'm gonna look. Let's see. Peacemaker episode directors. Okay, James Gunn did 6
episodes.
He worked on all 6 of them. He did 6. So he did 6 out of the 9. Brad Anderson did 1, Jody Hill did 1, and Rosemary Rodriguez did the other. So yeah, he did a lot. He did a lot of that.
Yeah.
Good. I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, everything's looking up for him. It's and the Guardians franchise, yeah, even though the critic score is an 82, the audience was a 94. So the general people for the most part are happy. They're enjoying themselves, and because you talked about it briefly there, you're like mentioned it passing. This is the last one. This is the last Guardians. But before we do that, did you already talk about the scores from the first 2?
Yes.
The Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I get just so people can get the comparison at home. I just want to make sure they had that. But yeah. So what are your? We'll talk about box office. Like I want to get to that like later because I think there's a lot of. Box office is so weird now post COVID. Like it's just there's like you have the post COVID box office dip and it's never gonna recover. So like we can talk about the numbers, but I feel like it's almost like a little letdown. So like we'll kind of throw that in at the end real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
when we're rating the movie.
So from here on out, if you haven't seen Guardians, do yourself a favor, go listen to this episode later. Go watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and come back and listen because it is a spoiler the rest of the way. I'm not even going to try and do this without spoilers because it would just happen. It just happens. So if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it and then come back to here and listen to the rest of the episode. If not, have a great time and stay breezy. Now, yeah, so I loved this movie with just every ounce of my being. I watched it and it was like, oh, that's what I was waiting for. I needed like another MCU movie that just made you feel all sorts of different emotions. And like, we knew going into this is the last part of the trip. This is the last one. And that like, I think we have talked about multiple times that like the iteration of Guardians has always been different throughout the comics, right? It changes and different people get added and different people leave and, some come back later and blah, blah, blah. And with James Gunn taking this role at DC, it was like, okay, well, like this is kind of it. And I think like that kind of added to it, right? Where like, you know, we had already seen Dave Bautista like tweeting out that he was saying bye to Drax, and I was like, oh shit, dude. Shit, I don't know if I'm ready for this. This is gonna be so sad. And like, I don't think the movie was actually necessarily like sad. Like, I do think the ending and like them all kind of like doing their thing, that was sad because you were just like, oh man, it's like seeing your buddies go away, dude. You're like, oh, you know, you were so connected to these characters now, and for that to come to an end was super upsetting. But like, I loved the tone of this movie. I liked the pacing of the movie. I thought that High Evolutionary is actually a really good villain. Like for the MCU, like we get a lot of villains that are just kind of like tossaways where it's like, but High Evolutionary is actually really good.
Very good. I'd argue top 5, if not 6. Like he's in the conversation for one of the best villains.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you got like Thanos, obviously, Loki, what a great villain Loki was, Killmonger, and then I don't know. Is it High Evolutionary next? Maybe. Like you're right.
Yeah, and well, honestly, all the Guardians villains, you know, Ronan the Accuser, who's like wasn't bad, could have done more. They kind of, you know, Lee Pace didn't give him enough. And then, I mean, Ego, not a bad villain either. I think the Guardians franchise has actually had pretty good villains, but I think a high evolutionary probably takes the cake.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was fantastic. The music was great. I loved hearing James Gunn talk about how he's like, this one was actually really hard because Peter Quill got that Zune, so it opened up like another even more genres and like decades of music that we could use, right? So he goes, you know, like I'll just say that hallway scene, dude, with the Beastie Boys is one of the greatest action sequences I've ever seen in an MCU movie. Like, obviously, tunnels, like, the portals open and they all come through during Endgame, that's top tier shit. Like, just like, man, like, tearjerker. Oh my God, this is beautiful to watch. But that scene in the hallway, just, I literally remember it happened. I looked at Nick and I said, that might have been one of the best action sequences I've ever watched. Where I just like, this is beautifully shot. The music's perfect. Everything was so cool about it. Just the movie itself, dude, was just awesome. It was so good. You know, I mean, I mentioned earlier, like Guardians 1 is still my favorite. Just like, I went back and rewatched it just because I'm like, I haven't watched this in a long time. And I think you forget like how good that movie is. But this movie is right up there. You know, I think it did so many things right and didn't really do a lot of things bad. We got our first F-bomb in the MCU, which is just like, it was hilarious. I loved it. It's so funny. Like if you weren't prepared for it, you're just like startled for a second. And like, listen, dude, I saw some people complaining because like they took their kid. It's PG-13, motherfucker. So, you know, pay attention to that.
We saw it, and there were some little kids, and I was like, oh, like, and don't get. I'm gonna show my kids like the MCU. We're gonna go through and watch it, but they're gonna be a little bit older because there's the kids that were seeing it. I mean, they didn't look older than like 7 or 8, and I was like, I don't know if I'd have them see a PG-13 movie. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But I loved it, and I think, what did I do? I do out of 10 usually, right? Man, I want to say like 8.5 or 9, like out of 10. Like I think it's right up there with like the elite tier of MCU movies. Like it's there. Like, because to me, Guardians 1 is a 9 out of 10. Like 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. Like I love that movie so much. And this one is like right there. It's like right behind it. So yeah, like 8.5. We'll go 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, like off the rip, I was actually very in line with you. Like 8.5, like 8.7, kind of like that range. Like this is a very enjoyable movie, like from like and satisfying too. Because we talked about how this is the conclusion. You're not really. I guess it's good if you're in the first or second movie to kind of almost leave you wanting a little bit more, to leave a little bit of the carrot on the stick. But when you have a trilogy, you kind of need to wrap everything up nicely, and this really did. And also, what a great song choice at the end by Florence, Florence and the Machines. The Dog Days Are Over, and it was just such a great thing to see all the characters like dancing and everything like that. And it was a really great send off because, like you said, like it wasn't like a goodbye forever. It was more like it was a celebration. Like, hey, we had this, we enjoyed this time together with you, with the audience. It was like everyone, we were all dancing, enjoy ourselves. It's like, hey, enjoy the time that we had. And I feel like I was almost talking about, like, and this is how I interpret it. Like, the dog days are over. Like, comic book movies are kind of like they're on the whole they're good. The dog days are gone. We're gonna kind of get them like here going forward for the indefinite future, undetermined amount of time. We're gonna get them. They're not going anywhere. They're insanely successful. They make so much money. All these quote unquote nerd properties.
Yeah.
So that's how I interpreted it. It was just I really really like this movie. Who do you want to talk about, the villain, or do you want to talk about our heroes first?
We can talk about the villain first. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, High Evolutionary, played by, and I'm absolutely going to say his name wrong, so I apologize. Chukwudi Iwuji. He was also in the Peacemaker TV show, so you may recognize my home for that. Wow, what a fantastic performance! He really sold it, and it's really hard to do sometimes when you have all those prosthetics on your face and everything like that, with all the makeup and all that he had going on. But he sold it, and like I really liked the one part in the movie where it's like, was he drunk when he's like screaming for Rocket and looking for him, or well, and he's not saying Rocket's like actual Rocket. He was like, was it 8P913 something like that, whatever his tag identifier was, experiment number. And it was almost like he was like drunk and he was like leaning in and out, like reaching in there. It felt super realistic, and I love the part also where when he was like something came up like, oh well, like they're not perfect, and he was like, well, that's why I stepped in. I'm God.
He's like, there is no God. That's why I stepped in. Yeah, and you're like, oh.
What a great line. But he delivered it so well. He was just, it was awesome. Like, what a really great villain. And then, like, a great payoff at the end, too, because you're wondering, like, about his face. Because, you see it in the flashbacks. You're like, okay, he didn't have all this, like, nonsense going on around the chin and the back of his head. And so you're kind of like, oh, like, what happened in between A and B here in this little time lapse? And then you see like, oh, because he shot Rocket's girlfriend, Lila, that Rocket just tore off his freaking face, and then so then he had like a little mask thing. That was a crazy payoff. Also, like, man, if I was like younger kid, if I was like the same age as those kids in there, and I saw that, I would have cried. I just started screaming because like younger me would have been terrified because didn't like have the nose, and like his lips were gone, like teeth were kind of missing.
Yeah, that was absolutely terrifying. Like, and like, oh man, just like Rocket's girlfriend Lila, and then his friends getting shot, floor and teeth, just fucking right in the gut, dude. Like, oh, I was like, oh my god. But like, you're right. He did such a good job with this role. He did such a good job, like, getting you to believe in him as a villain. And that line where he says, there is no God, that's why I stepped in. I was just like, oh, dude, this is great. This is masterpiece at work right now. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every bit of his performance. I think, we mentioned, like, definitely probably the top 5 MCU villain right now, where everything stands. And like, Guardians just as a whole have been really good at that, but like he just, man, really, really delivered in a spot where like if you didn't know like who High Evolutionary was before, like it made you that didn't matter, right? They did such a good job of just like selling you on this version of whatever of the villain that they wanted to tell. And I loved all of it. I love that like Other Earth being like that's his spot and like them kind of playing off of that and like just it was just very good. It was a very, very good performance by him.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought up Floor and Teeth because I gotta ask a question for you. When I saw them, and I had kind of seen them in the comics before, they kept the designs pretty similar to what I've seen before, but seeing them on the big screen made it different. It really brought back Toy Story 1 vibes for me when Woody sees all of Sid's experimented toys that have just been like cobbled together in all the crazy, creepy ways. I got all that like nostalgia like came flooding back to me, and just like that was where like, oh wow, like the helplessness, you like really feel like you have the empathy for those animals in that situation where there's like, oh my gosh, like doing all this experimentation on them and turning them almost into these monsters, but they're not acting like monsters. Sid's toys didn't act like monsters. They were super friendly. They helped Woody and the gang. They became part of all the toys, and like you really get those vibes in my opinion. It was just like, oh, it was so heartbreaking, and just especially like right at the end, like Rocket and Lila, they actually get to like hug. They get to hug it out, man, and then bang,
Bang.
bang, just take it from them. And shout out real quick, and we'll talk about him later. But Bradley Cooper is Rocket. Fuck, dynamite job. Like as a voice actor, doing that CGI record, dynamite job. Wow. I mean, he usually does a really good job, but this was top tier Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper was in his bag.
Oh, absolutely. Like the whole decision on James Gunn here to tell that story, Rocket's story, was just so beautifully done. And like the way that, we lose Rocket kind of early on in the movie, like our version of Rocket, but then we rely heavily on the flashbacks of Rocket. And they did such a good job. But you're right, Bradley Cooper, just another stellar performance. And it just goes to show, because like people originally, I remember when they got Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel, they were like, why would you get these guys if they're not going to talk like themselves? And it's like, because we're great voice acting. Like that's what they did. Bradley Cooper obviously on a different level than, Vin Diesel, but like even Vin Diesel doing Groot was like, I'm like connected now. Like, I'm connected to Vin Diesel as Groot. So it's like both of them to be able to go into their roles and like to perform like fantastic voice actors in that sense of do what they were asked to do was just top tier work.
I actually think this was probably Vin Diesel's best time as like the Groot, and maybe just because we've had more time with Groot on screen, but there actually felt like there was more depth to like the I am Groot. There almost felt like there was a lot more nuance to it throughout the film. Then of course at the end you get the view of like, oh okay, where he says like I love you guys, and you actually hear him say I love you guys. But I'm assuming that was like through the view of everyone else, like because they can all understand Groot.
It was
like a running
James
theme
Gunn
throughout the movie.
Yeah, James Gunn confirmed that was the audience, us. We could finally understand Groot too, and like when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, dude, now I'm all sad. Like that's so cool." Like, and then also a moment that I want to touch upon because I keep seeing TikToks about this. So Gamora. This version of Gamora is obviously the one that got pulled out of her timeline. If you remember from Endgame and Infinity War, like, boop, this is a different Gamora now, right? So she doesn't have any memories of this Guardians group, right? And like Peter, is a drunk and like is upset because he lost his love of his life, and the now he gets her back, but she's not that person and doesn't know him, and it's all this thing. But like Groot, baby Groot, connected so much with Gamora in Guardians 2. And like kind of that was like his like mom. So like at the end, when Gamora could understand Groot, when he, basically was like, it was, he liked working with her or whatever. And then she says, it was nice working with you too. And like, she realized that she understood Groot. Again, just another beautiful moment in this movie where you're just like, like they tied everything up in just a really great way and like a satisfying way.
Yeah, it was like I said, just a nice, pretty bow that they wove on all of our characters here. And since we just spoke a little bit about Rocket and Groot, let's talk about Nebula. So, if you would have asked me after the first Guardians
Mm-hmm.
movie, going like, who's your least favorite Guardian? I probably would have said Nebula.
Mm-hmm.
But man, she really kind of evolved, especially with the Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame, where she was taking on the larger role. She was hanging out with Rhodey a good bit, and she really kind of became more like, I mean, she was an Avenger, and she became a central character, and she just had a very satisfying arc in this movie where it's like, oh, it's like she was kind of almost still trying to push people away. She was just angry all the time. People, and she was kind of called on her shit. Like, you're just angry. You're trying to find reasons to be angry. You're just trying to push people away because you don't want to get hurt. You don't want to let that family in just to like hurt you again. I.e., like what Thanos did to you, and kind of like what Gamora did to you, like the old version of Gamora.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and Karen Gillan, who played her, did a fantastic job. Just super satisfying and sweet arm. Just got a great arm like that she got from Rocket. So that was a little cool tie-in. Also, I really like how James Gunn utilized her breakability. How because she can just like, you can kind of like just knock her head almost clear off, but like not off, and then she can just like kind of like straighten it back up, and like the arm can get popped out. It's like how they played with that in the hallway scene, like how she was like boom like that, but then she's still like, I don't know. They did a really cool job with, like I said, her breakability and kind of using that to her advantage throughout. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Nebula was really awesome in this. I think what they did a great job in this one, and sometimes you see this as an issue with other superhero movies with lots of characters, but like this one did a good job of making sure that there was like depth to every one of them, right? So like Mantis, like made you care about Mantis so much in this movie, the way that she was portrayed. You even like with Drax's story was so awesome, and like Drax being able to communicate with the kids and kind of be like a father figure with them, and like that was really cool. But then like Drax also did his, Batista did his other normal Drax stuff, right? Like his part where he's on the couch, dude, and he's trying to lay on these people's couch and they're just yelling at him. Like it was making me laugh so hard. And then when he was I think it's when they're in the ship and he's like, "Oh, are we pretending to be angry at Mantis?" Like, "You dumbass." And like, dude, it was just so funny. His dynamic with Mantis, like those two characters' dynamic was just so funny together. So I really loved both of
They
them
play
working
off each
together.
other well. They really do. Like
Hmm.
Dave Bautista and Pom Clementi. If I don't, they play really well off each other. They have very good chemistry on set. There was just, you could like really like, you could feel it like when they said like, when just them two had like their like goodbye at the end, and like the wave is like, I mean, you could feel like with like the Dave when he was doing that, and he was kind of like, he didn't want to wave because he didn't want to see her go, because they had that bonding moment in Guardians 2. Remember
Hmm.
that? Like they're sitting there, and like and he says like she's the ugliest thing, like whatever, and all that. It's just, man, yeah. It's just everyone had a very, everyone grew and developed. I mean, shoot, even like the newer characters like Kraglin. I guess he's not super new, but he was always kind of relegated to the sidelines, kind of being Yondu's right hand man. But I mean, he took more of a starring role in this, especially learning how to use the arrow, and then Cosmo as well. Cosmo the dog. Also being front and center. She had the whole arc. A good dog and everything like that with Kraglin. It was just, man, it was good. It was good. And we got a new character. I guess, well, yeah, new character finally on the big screen for the first time, making his MCU debut. Adam Warlock. What'd you think, big guy?
See, I was wondering what you thought of him. I think that Adam Warlock, like the story we got of Adam Warlock, was good in the sense of like he wasn't fully baked yet, right? Not fully ready yet. You're getting kind of this weird like adolescence kind of Adam Warlock. It's not the same Adam Warlock that like we see like in Infinity War in the comics, right? Where it's like this almighty being. Like he wasn't at that level yet. He was still developing, some of his cognitive brain functions and stuff like that. Will Poulter, that's who played him, right? I think it's Will.
Yeah. Yep.
He fought just awesome. Awesome job as him. I loved it. I love that he got the little furry alien dog thing, and like that was like his connection. I really enjoyed that a lot. Like I know some people that was like the one part of the movie they're like, man, and I was like, I don't know, dude. I liked it. I liked his portrayal of this early version of Adam Warlock, and like, obviously getting to the end credit scene, they show that they're going to do more with Adam Warlock, we assume. So like, I'm sure that will be a character that pops up in some big combo movie at some point.
Yeah, I can understand why hardcore comic fans were upset, because I mean Adam Warlock is, he was a big player in the Infinity Gauntlet, and I mean he's been a big player. He's super strong. I mean he has a Soul Stone, for Christ's sake. I mean he's one of the cosmic characters are always super powerful. There's the most powerful ones, and he was the top tier of the super powerful ones. And so I can kind of understand where they're upset, but I thought it was a very good portrayal by him. Will Poulter, I think everyone at home maybe knows him from We're the Millers. He plays Kenny, but he's grown a lot since then. He's filled out. He was buff.
Yeah.
He's tall, dude. It was a very funny portrayal, and he's still badass. It was like you could kind of see him like he's slowly growing into his powers. He's still feeling it out. It was like you're getting an origin movie. It's like you're getting the origin movie, but it's like the first like 15 minutes where they're like, oh, figure out your power set. He's still figuring all of that out. So there'll be more to come, because like he's gonna be, if they make him anything like the comics, like he's gonna be one of the most powerful characters that we see on screen. I thought it was good, and finally, like that was a payoff since what, the Guardians. Well, yeah, Guardians 2, I guess, but shoot. I mean, Guardians 2 to 3 is not that far, but if there was a big gap between Guardians 2 and 3 because the whole, James Gunn file out and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I liked them.
Yeah, I honestly like I said, like I thought it was good. Him being the one to save Star-Lord at the end, was really cool. Because I'll be honest with you, dude, in that moment, I thought that was it. I was like, damn.
I did too. Star-Lord. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right. I wasn't against it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, I know Chris Pratt. I know Chris Pratt needs it, because his other movies that he's taking a starring role in, not doing great. Not doing great. He needs Star-Lord.
I think he's great in the Lego movie. You know what I mean?
Are there more Lego movies coming though?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jurassic movies seem like those are done. So that should be pretty good. Yeah, I mean, so what's your thoughts on that? They split Star-Lord from the group, right? And then he goes back to Earth to see his grandpa. And then we do get the legendary Star-Lord will return. What do you think they should do with Star-Lord?
Hopefully, like slowly introduce like the new Star-Lord. I think that would be cool. I'd almost like to see, maybe in this movie he's still like fighting some crime, and maybe like he meets like a plucky young kid who might want to take over the mantle, and like maybe there's like a love interest, but he's not ready for her yet. And like he's not ready to jump back into anything because he's still doing the whole lily pad and swimming thing. He's got to learn how to swim instead of hopping from lily pad to lily pad. So I want to see him to keep swimming, get good at that, and then maybe the second movie after that, that's when he starts teaching more to the plucky young upstart. The relationship starts to develop a lot with the female character, and then I think the third one to wrap it all up is like him fully retiring. Maybe comes out of retirement. I don't know. Just like to help the plucky young upstart. He's got like a family and everything. That's kind of how I would like to see it go.
I was to say, so you think they could do a trilogy of Star-Lord?
Oh, I think they're going to.
Oh, wow.
Just because, yeah. I
Shit, dude.
absolutely.
How old is Chris Pratt? Let's see. I'm just curious, because, like, that would be crazy. He is 43.
Uh-huh.
Wow. That'd be cool, though. Like, I would love, like, because, I mean, I don't know, like, where else you plug. Like, Star-Lord will get plugged in when I think... So this is weird, right? Okay, so where we're at with the MCU now, right? Okay, so Guardians is done. There is a new Guardians team. I don't know. That to me seems like a maybe Kang Dynasty kind of like we see them again. Maybe we need a team up thing and they need the Guardians again.
Yeah, there's no. I don't think you see a Guardians movie with at the end of the movie, if you're listening, so you have Kraglin, you have
Cosmo,
Groot, you have Adam Warlock, Cosmo, and then you have one of the girls, one of the children.
And I don't know her name, but like people that were big comic nerds knew who that was, and I did not. She had something to do with Infinity, which we saw at the end of Thor: Love and Thunder.
Okay.
Something Dragon. Don't remember her name, but something Dragon.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, also Groot.
I don't think you're getting the continuation.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. King Groot.
No.
I thought that was cool.
King Groot. I didn't like Buff Groot in this one. I just didn't like the design. I'll tell you that. I like the original Groot from Guardians 1, where like, I guess like skinnier, wiser Groot, and then obviously like, who doesn't love Baby Groot? I asked Colleen this when we were done the movie, because this is like a debate you're seeing like quite a few places online.
Mm-hmm.
What was a more pop culture significant character / piece of property across everything? Baby Groot or Grogu?
Wow, that's tough. I'm gonna say Baby Groot for the sense of I think that Guardians in the MCU had a bigger reach during that time than Star Wars did. Where like, yeah, well, shit, dude, I don't know. There's people at work on their email signatures at the end have a baby Grogu holding the fucking Estes symbol, so like, yeah, that's kind of weird. Damn, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Baby Groot though. I'm gonna do it. Caitlin's got a little Baby Groot that swings in her rearview mirror, so I'm gonna go Groot.
Nice. I don't think there's a wrong answer here.
Okay.
I really don't. I lean slightly towards Grogu just because of the mystery behind the character, where like everyone was just calling him Baby Yoda because no one knew what to call him. We didn't know his name for the longest time, so like there was like that mystery factor.
Do you think
that was into it? But
do you think that the name reveal is what like stumbled that a little bit for them? Because people are like, I don't want to call him that.
Yes, I do think, yeah, like people, it's grown on me, and I like the name Grogu now. But when you first hear it, you're kind of like, you're like the Kelly character from Mandalorian. She's like, I'm not gonna call you that. That's like they were very aware. But I think some Star Wars names just take a while. Like any kind of sci-fi at least fiction movie, the names are going to be out there. But Grogu's definitely grown on me. But I mean, Baby Groot's a much better name than Grogu.
Yeah, Baby Groot is.
But Baby Groot, Baby Yoda.
Yeah, that's
probably
tough.
Got to give the edge to Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's also too like Guardians 2 starts with Baby Groot like dancing, and it's just such a like iconic thing now where you're just like, fantastic. But you're right though. I don't think there's necessarily like a wrong answer.
No, like there's not. I was just like almost curious of what you were thinking, because there's not. They're both. If you think about it, like they're just both huge pop culture. Like you'll still see Grogu stuff, and you'll still see Baby Groot stuff. Like to this day, this day, you'll still see stuff.
Would you like to give your pregnant wife's review?
So if everyone remembers for our Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumanium review, we had thoughts from my wife, but I changed it up because she's pregnant. I think I guess she was pregnant for Quantumania as
Yeah.
well. Thoughts from a pregnant lady. This is what she said. Like I direct quote: "It was good. It was cute." That's how she described Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And then on her Netflix scale, because I've gotten her big into that, she gave it 1 thumbs up. So for people who just don't know at home, it's either a thumb down, 1 thumb up, or 2 thumbs up. So
Middle
she
of
gives
the
the 1 thumb up.
road.
Which is well, still likes it.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Yeah, I loved it. It was very cute. I love that movie. Like, I really want to go see it again. I enjoy the hell out of that movie, very, very much. One thing I want to ask you too, like now, okay, Guardians is done. Now we do know the next big MCU thing is Secret Invasion on Disney Plus, which let me tell you, there has never been a show besides probably Moon Knight that I was so excited to be released. Like, I am jazzed for this. I'm jazzed for Samuel L. Jackson. Everything that I'm hearing from people about this, like taking that political thriller Winter Soldier and like amping it up, like, bro, man, let me tell you, then that you got a man sold on it then, because I'm all in. I am all in then at that point, because I love Winter Soldier. It's one of like my favorite movies of all time from the MCU. I think there's a chance that we get an appearance from a character in a Marvel show of the past that pops up here that has never officially been introduced into the MCU yet. I think that is definitely a big possibility. I'm referring to Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think this is the show where it happens. I think Sam Jackson is going to have to create a new team by the end of this show to deal with the Skrulls. What I'm more excited about, like what I crave, was because like, okay, so like I liked the Captain Marvel movie. I'm not one of those weirdos that like bashed it just because they didn't like Brie Larson for whatever reason. Like, I don't know, that's weird to me. That's not my jam. If you didn't like the movie just because you didn't like the movie, that's fine. But there's a lot of people that are just like, I'm not gonna like this movie because Brie Larson is in it. And I'm like, that's weird. I don't have that same outlook. But actually, the one part about the movie I did not like were the Skrulls, because the Skrulls that I knew and loved are one of the best villains in Marvel Comics. Like, awesome stories have been told with the Skrulls. So I was like, ah. But now, with Secret Invasion and the idea that we're gonna finally get like, quote, evil Skrulls on Earth, kind of sold. So like, okay, where are you at on like the future now of the MCU moving forward?
I think a lot really rides on the Secret Invasion show, because Marvel hasn't really had the Dynamite show in a while. I mean, it started off hot with Loki, but Moon Knight, it's not bad, not great. Miss Marvel started off hot, dip, and then it closed out okay. What else am I? Oh, She-Hulk started off great, dipped, but ended really great. I really love the finale for that. So it's like they're kind of like a younger prospect in sports, where like you have that
Yeah.
inconsistency where it's like, hey man, just give me the consistency. Just like, like you don't need to be hitting dingers every at bat, but don't strike out every time. Just hey, hit a blue single every now and then. That's okay, baby. Get on base.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what we could get with Secret Wars here. And then I believe not Vote Loki, excuse me, but Loki season 2 comes after Secret Wars, right?
In October, yes.
Yeah. So this could be a really almost straightening of the ship a little bit, and now especially because Bobby Iger's back in charge. Shout out to him. He's already said we're going to do quantity over quality, which is definitely not what they were doing before, because they were
Wait.
just like,
You
Nah,
flipped it.
MCU, we're gonna pump it out.
You flipped it. You said quantity over quality. You mean they're going to do quality over
Oh,
quantity.
yes, thank
Okay,
you.
because I was
Correct.
like, wait, that's what they were doing because I was getting way too many and they weren't that good. Okay, I
Yeah,
got it. Yes. Yeah, I got you.
my bad. That's on me. Yeah, but so it seems like they're gonna do the quality over quantity, and that even includes movies. Like it's like Blade has kind of been put on the shelf indefinitely. When is that coming out? I don't know. We still don't even know when we're getting the Eternals too. I mean, they introduced Black Knight at the end of that, and they also had Mahershala Ali's Blade at the end of the Eternals. So it seems like they're kind of putting a lot of things on hold. But well, actually, when does Echo come out? I actually think that does
That's
come out between
November.
Secret Wars.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay, that's after
So this
everything.
is what you
Okay,
got. This is what if you're looking at the MCU right now. You have Secret Invasion in June. You had the Marvels this summer. Then you have Loki in October, and then you have Echo. I believe that's the lineup right now. So what you mentioned about like how they just were like they're like pumping things out and like now they started to slow down. I think that was Kevin Feige stepping in and being like, "All right, this isn't working. We need to like adjust on the fly because we don't want to just stop what we're doing. Like we have a story we're trying to tell. We have now this multiverse saga that we're trying to tell. So like we need to like adjust. We need to make changes as we're going, right? Like a good coach, you know what I mean? Good coach mentality there. Got call the timeout and was like, all right, dude, we gotta switch things up here. What are we doing wrong? Like, what is the issue? And I think you nailed it. Where it's just like there's way too many, and the quality just wasn't meeting that expectation. So, now, I, I them going with this approach with Echo, where they're just going to release the whole show at once, makes me feel like Kevin Feige and the gang were like, this isn't that good, but it needs to get out there because we need it for the rest of the storytelling we're trying to do. So instead of making this painfully awkward for multiple weeks where people maybe aren't as invested, let's just push it all out there at once. What do you think?
it could be also because we were talking about it's more. I don't mean this in a bad way. There's probably a lot of Echo fans out there. Slightly more obscure character,
Mm-hmm.
a lower tier character. So I think with any lower tier character like that, you almost need to like do like the Blitzkrieg. You need to drop everything at once, and if it is good, you really have to get them to fall in love with the characters. I think, and because especially in the superhero landscape, there's so many other things that you can like that can draw your attention away. And so especially like right there in like November, you're getting into the holiday movie season. That's a just drop all of it at once. That makes a lot of sense. Also, how involved was Kevin Feige in the development of Echo? Did he because
Oh,
that's when he was kind of flirting with Star Wars and
oh
everything
yes.
like that. So
Also,
was he
I
I don't
lied.
know.
I
Sorry.
lied. Marvels comes out after Loki. Comes out in November. I lied.
Okay. Okay. So it's like they're having like the super heroine month, because they're gonna do the Marvels and they're gonna do Echo. So that'll be a big month. That's gonna be a big month.
Great point though with you that he was flirting with the idea of Star Wars. Disney, and like that's a whole show on its own that I could do and talk about Star Wars when it comes to Disney and how, to me personally, they fumbled the shit out of Star Wars since they got it. Where like, yeah, I guess when you look at some of the numbers,
Absolutely.
I'm sure if you look at some of the box office numbers, you're probably excited about that just because Star Wars is Star Wars. You're going to get these people to go to the movies. We all had to sit through that last trilogy, whether it was good or not. So, like, it is what it is as Star Wars fans. But, like, that is so interesting to me. Then to like Kevin Feige to be like, yeah, you know what? No, nope. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, I think part of that is like when Kathleen Kennedy was like, "Oh yeah, like you can take this over. You'll kind of be like you'll see like your universe do some building." But I think when Bob Iger was brought back on, I think he probably had a lot of sway in that. Was like, no, 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 no. You need to see this MCU. You need to keep doing this. We'll just throw more money at you. Um, yeah, Star Wars. Whew. Kathleen Kennedy's got a lot of fixing to do over there. Hey, the shows are doing great though. I mean, Andor, really great. Mandalorian, it's that's good stuff too. Bad Batch, good stuff. So, TV wise, honestly, Star Wars is doing a-okay. It's just they've had issues with the movies.
Yeah, they definitely have. Yeah, I'm so interested on what this is for the future of the MCU, right? Like Guardians felt like, this feeling that I had like pre Endgame where I was like, dude, this is just we're on a roll. This is amazing. We're having the best time. But then again, like that's also just what James Gunn has done with that Guardians trilogy. So like let me get into that. BK, we now have another MCU trilogy in the books. Where does this trilogy go for you on the list of trilogies?
So like I thought about this a lot over the weekend, and I was texting you about it. I think this is the best. If we're not including the big team up ones like the Avengers movies, I think that's like I'll probably always have that as like the top dog, just to be completely honest, because it's like the big team up movies. It's like awesome. It's like the big crossover events and everything like that. It's hard not to love them.
Well, yeah, I mean, even with like whatchamacallit, the second Avengers movie being like, being okay, right? Like the first initial team up, Infinity War and Endgame do so much heavy lifting that like no other trilogy could compare.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, but if we're talking anything that's not Avengers, I have Guardians as number one. It's been the most consistent throughout. I have Captain America number two. Is it close? Yes. I love the first Captain America, first Avenger. Some people don't like that. I guess they hate character development. So shame on those people at home. Winter Soldier is probably that's in the top three of MCU movies. That's not a question. That's not a debate. That is just a scientific fact. It's been proven. It's like gravity. It is what it is. People get over it. And then, but where Captain America falls off for me is Civil War. I think that is the weakest of the Captain America movies. It's like a team up movie, but I don't think it's the actual like best story wise, like beat for beat. Like it's cool to see the airport fight or airplane airport fight. They're on right there on the airfield, and then like you see the fight at the end, Cap and Bucky versus like Tony, and you have the introduction of Black Panther and Spider-Man. But I don't think it just holds up. It's like it reminds me a lot of Spider-Man Far From Home, where it's like, they're kind of almost doing that like nostalgia thing, like, oh hey, we're gonna bring out these characters that you love, you're getting them back, blah blah blah, all that stuff. They're really playing off your emotions, and so that's why I put Guardians above that. In terms of the third one, see, this is where it's tough for me. Iron Man 1's great. Iron Man 2 is bad. It's not good. Iron Man 3 is good, though. I enjoy Iron Man 3. I had fun. So, but it's not that. Honest, Ant-Man, the first two Ant-Man movies, all about that. Third one, fell off a cliff. The first two Thor movies, not good at all. Not good. Thor Love and Thunder, top 5 MCU movie. Top 5.
No, Ragnarok, not Love and Thunder.
Sorry, Ragnarok. Sorry, yeah. Not Love and Thunder. Ragnarok, top 5. Love and Thunder, nowhere near top 5.
Yeah,
not even in the upper half. Who am I missing? Why is that's gotten 3? Oh, well, okay. You know what? Now that I thought about this, I think I know who I would put third.
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
It's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Like, I was waiting. I was like,
I just had to get to him. Yeah, it's Spider-Man. And that 3 feels good there. If Black Panther has a really great third one, if it happens, the whole Chadwick Boseman thing really threw that trilogy just almost like kind of like out the window. They had to rethink that. But I think Black Panther is on solid ground. So Black Panther 1, Wakanda Forever, they're on solid ground. Like if they just kind of keep consistent with the third one, dare I say they could maybe bump off Spider-Man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you, though. Like, Guardians is number one trilogy for me. It's just the consistency, like you said, like from movie to movie, it's just been fantastic, right? Captain America, yeah, I like the first Cap movie. I love Winter Soldier. It's like there is no debate. There is none. That is a top 3 MCU movie, and if you don't think that, you're wrong, because it is. It's just, it was something you never expected to come out of a superhero franchise movie, and it's so good. The Civil War thing is weird because it was like, it didn't need to be a Captain America movie. It just needed to be like another Avengers spinoff movie. And I think that's why, like, David and I had this conversation afterward, because I think I texted you both and I said, it's Guardians is the best trilogy. It's not close. I don't think it's close anymore. And like, David was like, well, I mean, you can make the argument for Cap. And you're right. You can make the argument for Captain America. You can. But I think Winter Soldier does so much of that heavy lifting on that. And that's why I could put Guardians like on its own, shoulders above the rest. Like, it's boom, it's there. And Spider-Man 3, yep, no doubt. Because even with Far From Home kind of feeling kind of mesh in a way, like, it was still a really like solid Spider-Man movie. Like, the MCU has just done a good job with Spider-Man. And No Way Home is just a ride that I loved. Us coming off of Endgame, and that's where we went. And it was like after Endgame, after all these, we did all these things, and, getting the original Green Goblin and the original Dr. Ock, and Jamie Foxx's Electro and the Sandman and getting, I will never forget the feeling of the portals opening and Andrew Garfield jumping through, and then Tobey Maguire walking through, and just all these emotions like pouring into me, because I was just like, oh my God. Like, and then that scene of all 3 Spider-Men webbing off of each other, and like, dude, it's just, there's something about that trilogy. And I think after that, it just kind of falls off. Like, I think it just kind of falls off, where like Thor has like one good movie out of all the 4, like a one that's a really great movie. Iron Man, to me, I've always been this way. I've always felt this way. I know people get mad, but like, I just like the first one. That's it. I don't like the other Iron Man movies. I just didn't. They didn't do anything for me.
I can't fault you for it.
Yeah. I love RDJ. I think RDJ is amazing, and just what a portrayal of Iron Man and Tony Stark that he did. But those movies just did not do it for me. I'm kind of with you on Ant-Man. Go ahead.
Sorry. Well, it's like, I would compare like RDJ as Iron Man in the Iron Man movies, like Damian Lillard being on the Trailblazers. Great ball player. You love him. But it's just, it's not working around him.
Dame time. Ant-Man. Oh, man. I mean, I don't know. Shit. Like, is Ant-Man 4th, maybe? I don't know. Like, I like the first Ant-Man a lot.
Do you have Ant-Man above Iron Man? Do you have Ant-Man above Iron Man for you?
That's so hard, because damn. I don't know.
No, it's tough because Quantumania is not very good, but Iron Man 2 is bad.
Like, Iron Man 2 is really, really bad.
It's just
I just
bad.
think that maybe I think they're both so similar, but I think why Iron Man might get the nod is just because of the first Iron Man movie, like, just being so good.
Oh, like, yeah. Hey, so that's what carries it for me.
Yeah, it might have to for me, even though I love the first Ant-Man, because I had no expectations, and like, I was just like, oh, this is really good. The second Ant-Man, the Ant-Man and the Wasp, to me, like, I liked it, but I do think that like the villain being like Ghost was okay. Quantumania, like, Kang was awesome, but like the movie itself was not good. So like, I guess I'll go Iron Man there. Thor's on the bottom just because, like, even though Ragnarok is amazing and like it is the highest of highs, those other movies are not good.
No, there's a lot of lows in the Thor movies. A lot of lows.
Yeah, just really, really, really bad. Like, awful. You want to run through the box office numbers?
Yeah, so the opening weekend box office for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 here, domestically 114 million, internationally 168 million, so not bad at all. I could not find the international numbers for Guardians 1 and Guardians 2 before we did this, but for comparison's sake, Guardians 1 brought in 94 million on its opening weekend. Guardians 2 brought in 145 million. So Guardians 3 nestled right there in the middle. But we did touch upon earlier. It's really weird comparing box office numbers because, like, yeah, this first Guardians, like, you can be like, oh wow, like that didn't do as well as the first Guardians 3 or 2, but is also well because no one really knew about it. This was really like taking a turd and polishing it and showing it to the people, like, hey, this is actually like really good stuff here. So it's hard to compare with that. And then especially with Guardians 2, and we were talking about, like, you've seen the COVID slump with movies, and it's forever changed box office returns, and that's just no two ways around it. And it will never be the same going forward, just with all the streaming options at home. Like, we were, and just to get sidetracked very quickly here, like the Mario movie, it's still out in theaters. Like, it's still in the theaters here, but you can rent it on Amazon for like 25, $30, and you can also rent it now on Vudu for 25, and then you can buy it for 30. So like that affects the box office returns as well. So just keep that in mind with those numbers. It still did very well. It's more than made its money back. It is A-okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One thing I wanted to ask before I wrap this up. BK, Guardian movies have the best soundtrack of all the MCU movies, right? Just, they're awesome.
That's not a conversation.
No. So what are some of your favorite songs from the Guardian movies?
I really don't know music like that. Mm-hmm. If I were to lean towards a movie for the best soundtrack, can I answer your question that way?
Yeah, sure.
I really just Awesome Mix Volume 1. That is just I would listen to that at work all the time, and like especially working at the Orioles and working with like in like the little cubby area with like with my guys, we would just put that on. Like one of us, we would kind of like rotate like us playing it where we could only hear it, where it wouldn't throw off everyone else. But just the soundtrack in Volume 1 was just awesome. It's just, hey, what? And then I think people forget how that first Guardians movie started. That really set the tone for that movie, but also for that franchise and the rest of the characters. When you're seeing Peter Quill, he slips on the old headphones, he presses play, and then he's dancing while he's on the way to get the object, and he picks up the little rat thing and he's screaming into like a little microphone. Like, that sold the movie. That gave you the tone from the rip on how the franchise was going to go. And that's my decision why.
Some songs for me. The Rubber Band. So this one's about it's Rubber Band Man, which is not from a Guardians movie. It was the song playing their introduction into the Infinity War that they were singing on the ship before Thor crashed into the ship. When they were all singing it as a group. Yeah, that's one. I mean, Dog Days Are Over is going to be on there because like that was just, I loved it. That was awesome. Another one I really like is from the second movie, Brandy, when he's riding in the car with Peter Quill's mom. That's a really good one. Obviously, Hooked on a Feeling. Ooga chaka, ooga chaka, ooga ooga. Yeah, such a good soundtrack. Spotify has this cool like a complete playlist, and it's all the Guardian movies, all three movies. It's also like their orchestra music as well from the movies, and the music from the video game soundtrack, all wrapped into one, and that is pretty cool.
That's a lot of music there. Mm-hmm. How long is that?
Let's see if it says a length. Let me take a look. Let me take a gander here.
I might throw it on at work tomorrow.
It is 5 hours and 9 minutes.
Wowzers.
It's a lot, dude. Yeah, I'll play it when I'm at work sometimes because I'm like, oh, this is so good. I actually really like this. Also from some of the music from the holiday special, obviously as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But overall, I love this movie, dude. I love that movie so much, and I love this trilogy, and I'm so sad that we're done with it. But I just hope whenever we do see some of these characters again, that they're done well. That's all I can hope for.
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna. I don't know if we're gonna. I honestly just don't know when and if we're gonna see them again. Like maybe in a future Avengers one, but but I think part of that is good too, to a certain degree. Like more or less, like some of the new ones, like Adam Warlock, because we just got him. I'd love to see him in like more stuff, but it's like those newer characters because you kind of have to, as the MCU continues to like grow and expand and get bigger, you kind of have to cycle like just the way the movies are, because it's not like comics. You have to cycle out some of the older ones and just like give room for the other characters to like really grow, and then because we don't want to like have to do like a reboot of like the characters like every 10 years and so forth. I don't want to see any of the characters like become like Batman. And I love Batman. You know that. I know you love Batman, but I hate how many Batman we've gotten in my lifetime.
Yeah.
It's a little much.
Technically,
it's a little much.
I think we technically have gotten the same amount in both of our lifetimes, right? Because Keaton still did one when I was born. Like 92 is when Batman Returns comes out, so I technically get Michael Keaton on that list. So, yeah, holy shit, dude.
Were you born? Were you born when it came out?
Hold on, let's look.
Weren't you born in 92?
I was born in 92.
Yeah,
Batman.
Yeah, it's like, but like when in 92?
Well, let's take
okay, so it could have been in your mom's tummy. So then technically,
no. Hold on. Here, let's see. When did it release? Hold on. Looking it up right now. June. I was already born, brother. Already out of the womb.
Bro,
Michael Keaton. He's not my Batman, but that's all right. He's some people's Batman.
But it's like I don't want to see like RDJ and Chris Evans, Cap. Like we have to cycle through these old ones to make room for like new ones and to get like different interesting stories that we haven't seen before. And then we can circle back around to them when I'm in like my 50s.
I think what we're left with now, and that's a great point. Like, I don't want to see another Iron Man. I don't want to see another Cap. Like, I don't. Not when they're rebooted. I'm cool with like, Falcon getting the mantle and all that shit. Like, that's fine. But I can't just have another Steve Rogers. Like, I can't do that. I don't want another Thor, right? I have Chris Hemsworth. That's my Thor. Like the MCU, for better or worse, did a great job of getting actors that now are iconic with these roles, right? It's just like how I know there's going to be a Wolverine that isn't Hugh Jackman, but I'm not prepared for that yet. Still, I'm just not. And I think with the MCU, like, it's so funny. Like, I'm just like, now I'm like, how do we get there? How do we get to Secret Wars? Right? I don't remember if this is confirmed or not that it's going to be a 2-part Secret Wars movie. I think it is. Which, like, shit. That leaves a lot of room for things. I'm just so interested. Like, I don't want to see any of these Guardians characters rebooted. I don't. But see, that what you did mention though about some of the newer ones that we saw though, like Adam Warlock, that's when I was like, oh, so like we have to get like the Guardians again at some point, right? Like, would they really just introduce the character like that and then just say, all right, guess all done now. See you later. That just feels weird to me. I mean, unless maybe not. Maybe they honestly just don't give two shits about the Adam Warlock character because Infinity's War done, and they're like, I don't really know what we need to do with him at this point. That could be true.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and it's because he had a little gem in his head, but like we don't really know what that is or what it does. So yeah, I can see that. But it's also super. Adam Warlock's so strong, it could easily be like, okay, he just flies off somewhere. Like okay, kind of like how Captain Marvel. She was just like, I'm gonna leave Earth. There's a lot of things going wrong in space. Yeah. All right. It's like it's easy to do that when the characters are super powerful and they're just like, I'm just gonna fly away, do my own thing.
It's like Thor. Right, like Thor's gone. We don't know where Thor went, and it's just like, yeah. All right, dude, do your thing. It's very interesting though.
in one last thing before we close up
Mm-hmm.
quickly here, Secret Wars only being 6 episodes. Does that make you worried? Would you want is it too short?
Oh, Secret Invasion.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, I've called it Secret Wars this whole time. I'm sorry.
It's
Pulling
okay.
a mic.
That's a movie. That's the movie we're gonna get.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't have me worried. No, you know what I think it's gonna do though. My hope is that we finish this and I'm like, damn, I want more. Like I really need more of that. And like I'm so interested on what this leads into. We've already seen the trailers that like Samuel Jackson is in the Marvels. So like that's my direct correlation is that like the next step for these characters in this movie will be that. Um I I have a lot of theories on this show. And like, okay, so if people don't know what Secret Invasion, right? It's obviously what was so iconic about this comic line is that it literally made it so that any of your favorite MCU characters could be whatchamacallit, could be scrolls this whole time. And we just didn't know, right? So like that now, I think, and if they don't do something like this, they didn't do it justice. One of these major MCU characters has to be a scroll, like this whole time. Whether that be Cap, whether that be, they go back and it's Black Widow, whether they go back and it's Hawkeye. Like, I would love for one of the original core members of Avengers to be a scroll this whole time.
What about Colby Smulders? She's been a scroll the whole time.
Yes. Yeah, something like that. Or is it Rhodey?
Or is she not big name enough?
No, I mean it'd still be cool. But or is it Rhodey? Did Rhodey really die when he got hit by Vision? And then we find out that they replaced him with a scroll. Could you imagine? Like, because now we know that like Armor Wars, which was supposed to be a Disney Plus show with Rhodey, is going to be a movie, right? That's what we're hearing.
Yep.
So like and right now I believe he's the Secretary of State when we are introduced to him. So like I am very, very, very excited for this show. Like, yeah, being 6 episodes, that does kind of like, but like how many more is it going to be? Does that mean I was going to get 2 more out of it with the way the MCU shows have gone? So like maybe I would have got 8. All I know is that like this show, I didn't even talk about the fact that Emilia Clarke's in it. And like she's technically supposedly playing 2 roles at the same time. So like, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. When's this release? When's Secret Invasion release?
What if Agent 13 is
Yes, that was another theory. Yep, that was another theory I read, bro. The other day I went on a deep dive on YouTube, dude. Deep dive on this cuz like I love this storyline so much. It's literally one of my favorite comic storylines. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm excited, but I went through it and they're like going off of like people they think it could be, and she was on it because they explained like when we see her in Falcon and Winter Soldier, she's like very different than like we saw her in the other time. So I was like, ooh, that would be cool. That would be really sweet. So I'm down, dude. I'm so excited for this show. I can't wait. When's this release date? June 21st, baby. Woo! A month away. Oh, I can't wait. I hope this is the Andor for the MCU shows.
That's what everyone's kind of holding it up against, and they're saying like, oh, this is the Andor. Which like, hey, I mean, if the MCU can deliver it, shout out to them. But like, that's a lot to live up to. Andor is top tier fucking television, dude. You haven't watched Andor yet, right?
Nope.
Like top tier television, bro. Like you should honestly watch it before. You should watch it before June 21st. There,
I probably
need
can.
to go ahead and do something. Yeah, like you could. I guess it's what, like 8 or 10 episodes. Like,
yeah.
And I really want you to watch Ted Lasso, and I know you're watching through that too. The Ted Lasso ones are like, I feel like you can finish both the shows fairly quickly. But I know you also do watch like a lot of anime. You're a big weeb head, so I don't want you to lose that identity of yourself. But
Thank
hey,
you.
but guess what? You're not watching the White Sox right now because they just let you down and hurt you. So you got more free time than ever.
Also, real fast, in case anybody's here at the end, you have to install the new app called Max. In case everybody's curious, it's not just an update to HBO Max; it's a whole new app you have to install. That launches today, so make sure you got Max. You could just use your HBO Max info, I've been told, but you do have to download the new app. So now I have to go do that as well. I got like an
Fuck,
update
I
from
gotta do
HBO
that.
Max. I got like a notification from them this morning, and I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, I gotta do that." It's like when I came home, I told my brothers, and they were like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you gotta like redo it." And so I'm like, "Okay, copy that, get rid of my Discovery Plus. So it'll be on one thing." I wonder if that's out right now. Hold on, we're gonna do this live while I'm on here. I already installed the app. What the fuck? Where's it at, dude? That's HBO Max. That's not. So I already installed the stupid ass app. Let me tell you, brother. HBO does a terrible job. Just an absolute terrible job. Where's this at? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay, it's not out yet. Not out yet. So, but yeah, if you look here, it's a whole new app, Max. So I get notified when
I
it
mean,
drops, so I can do it.
I'm just glad they didn't put a plus at the end of it because that's like the lamest thing that everyone's fucking doing that now.
Yeah, I'm also like, why? Oh, I guess there they started kind of showing some of the shows, but like when you're looking at all the images on here, it's just all HBO shit, and I'm like, no, dude, like, where's all the Discovery stuff? That's what you want to sell people on, right? Yeah. All right, there you go. That is that it for you, good sir?
That is. This was a long pod, but fun to do because yeah, 'cause like I said, I won't do the sports one. I will be out. But hey,
Yeah.
power to y'all. I know y'all crush it. I'll listen.
Oh, thank you. We hope you enjoyed listening to this as well. You can go follow the show on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. It's at AM Nation Pod. Hit the follow button on all of those. Listen to the show on podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. Like, subscribe, share, all those good things. Twitch.tv/Undead Black Bull is where you find David. If you have Twitch, Amazon Prime, you get a free Twitch Gaming sub a month. So give it to Undead Black Bull. Until next time, everybody. You stay breezy.